Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters and viewers of Iqra TV. Welcome to another program of Real Talk, the program that brings to you on a week-to-week basis issues that are of concern, of interest to members of the Muslim community and others as well. Every week we try and make sure that we come into your rooms, into your homes to talk about issues that affect you on a day-to-day basis. And today is no different. Inshallah, today you will hear from somebody that I have had a tremendous amount of respect for and have known him for over 30 years now. He's a man who is well known to parts of West Yorkshire because he worked here for a while as a champion of equality, particularly race equality, at the old Kirklees, North Kirklees Race Equality Council. His name is Maqsood Ahmed. He's been a senior manager in many government organisations. He started off at KREC as he was Kirklees Racial Equality Council. He then moved on to HMIC, Home Office and NHS as senior manager in those organisations, and I'm sure many others as well. I'm really pleased. After many years, we've come back together again today. Maqsood, Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. Welcome to Iqra TV. Nice to be back with you again after a long time. How are you keeping? You're looking very well.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brother Iqbal Bhai, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure meeting you again.
And you've come all the way across the Pennines?
I've come all the way across Pennines.
Did you check your passports at the border?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Brexit is still
they might do that. You see, Yorkshire might declare a Brexit of its own in due course. How are you keeping?
I'm well, thank you very much. And
Maqsood, as I said, has worked in a very senior position. And when he left the West Yorkshire, and then he went on to government circles, he then at one stage ended up as the advisor to the Home Secretary, and he has served under a number of Home Secretaries as the Race Equality and Diversity Advisor. So he has played a very important role in the politics of this country and how policies have developed. And he's seen these changes taking place over many years. And as we were talking earlier, we have in the last few years seen a huge rise in Islamophobia. There's been massive increases of attacks on Muslims in particularly our Muslim sisters who are vulnerable because they are easily identified. And Maqsood has been at the forefront of championing the causes of the Muslim community and BAME community as well. Maqsood, obviously we meet at very tragic times. What happened in Christchurch, 50 people lost their lives, many more are injured, and some very seriously in hospital. One of my own relations has been shot in that incident and died. We're not sure yet when his funeral is going to be taking place. The young man who went from India to New Zealand. I've got lots of family over there. May Allah rest his soul and give him the highest place in Jannah, and his family suffered at this moment in time. Obviously, this tragedy has happened, and we've seen this far-right extremism in its worst form. I mean, your experience of, how do you feel at this moment in time as a Muslim, as a champion, as somebody who fights the cause for equality and diversity for all communities? I mean, does it make you feel uncomfortable at the moment?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Iqbal Bhai, I feel, first of all, condolences to all those who passed away in Christchurch. May Allah give them Jannah and the family and friends, patience and sabr. I believe my experience over 30 years working at a senior level, I think these are the most difficult times, particularly for Muslims. Because if you remember, Iqbal Bhai, in the 70s and the 80s when we were fighting racism and anti-racism, when we used to get regularly beaten up going to school and coming back from school, the atmosphere was different. We could recognize racism. But now, over the years, and Islamophobia didn't exist that much in the 70s and the 80s. And I think the difference now in the 2019 and in 2007 and others was that we have organizations over the years where Islamophobia has now become acceptable. It's become acceptable in the public services, in the media and the others. And that has created an environment for the right-wing organization to actually flourish. And I think we have been sleepwalking into this environment as Muslims, in a sense. So for me, if you ask me a direct question, I'll give you a direct answer. For me, I feel very worried about it. I see the history and I see where we are now. Things should have got better under equality and fairness, and But I look back at now and I'm thinking it's become more and more professionalized into mainstreaming of our public services and the private sector.
So basically what you're saying is, if I understand you correctly, somewhere around the 70s and 80s, we were fighting around race equality, and that encompassed all people,
absolutely,
of all colours, and all ethnicities. And then there's been a shift. Race has been sort of put to one side, and the focus around discrimination is focused around Muslims and what Muslims are all about. And that shift has been palpable to a certain extent, and fueled by a certain extent by politicians as well as the media. What do you think, the politicians need to do now? I mean, you've seen how the Prime Minister of New Zealand has stood up to this atrocious attack. And I've seen lots of messages on social media, and the only one that I'm on is WhatsApp. People congratulating her on the way she has handled this. What do you think the politicians, I mean, you worked with very senior politicians, the Home Secretaries, etc. What do you think the politicians need to do in this country to reassure the Muslim community beyond what they've already done? I know the Prime Minister's made some comments, the Home Secretary's made some comments, the police, so the NPCC, the National Police Chiefs Council have made some. But is that sufficient, or do they, in your opinion, do they need to do more than that?
I think they need to do more. I think the New Zealand Prime Minister has shown an excellent example of inclusive leadership. Whoever looks at those clips, like I have seen and you have seen, that gives you the warmth of the human being, never mind the Prime Minister. I think compassion is missing within our politicians in UK. So what would I like to see them do? I think they need a Islamophobia inquiry, a bit like the Stephen Lawrence inquiry that we had, if you remember, after the tragic death of Stephen Lawrence.
Yeah, anniversary is coming up next week.
Anniversary is coming up next week, and we did make some progress with the Gaston Macpherson recommendations and the others. And you and I were responsible for some of those, implementing those areas. I think we need an inquiry, similar inquiry, led by a judge, an independent, on Islamophobia across the United Kingdom, in a sense, to really get to the bottom of, because if we don't, then I'm afraid we're going to have not only what happened in New Zealand, the next attack could easily be in the United Kingdom.
Well, apparently one of the ministers has actually made a comment. Ben Wallace apparently has made a comment. Also, I've heard that he said that it's possible that a similar event could take place in the UK. Inshallah, Allah willing, it won't happen. But he apparently, I've been told that he has, and I've seen it on social media, that there's a statement that he made to that effect, as Maqsood said, there by the grace of Allah, it could be it could be us today. And I mean, one of my dear friends, Joe Cox, was murdered brutally by an extreme right-wing extremist, in Batley, not many years ago. So and then we've had other people in South Yorkshire who were going for namaz, who were stabbed. This happened in Birmingham. I mean, these are one-off incidents. So leadership, as you say, is politicians, but we have lots of Muslim politicians in this country, from councillors to MPs, right? Do you see them taking that leadership role? Are they failing the Muslim community?
I think there is a role for them to play. If you look at other politicians, say the LGTB politicians, you can see that they stand up in the House of Commons, they stand up in Parliament, and they take that issue on board front. I don't see other Muslim MPs and Muslim councillors doing that. I think we, in a sense, are either embarrassed to talk about being a Muslim or not being proud of being Muslims. I think they have a very, very important role to play. They have a vital role to play to actually represent the community they serve. And most of them, let's be frank, most of them do serve a community which is a Muslim community. They get elected on that basis because A, they're Asian, B, they're Muslims in a sense in many, many areas. Not all, but majority of them. So in return, what we expect them to do is actually articulate the feelings of the Muslim community. And I think there's a lot of room to be done there. That is a gap that we need to have. So what do we do about that? I think we need to have the right caliber of MPs who are Muslims, who are articulate, who can read the policies and strategies and so forth. Because if they can't understand strategic direction or leadership, then I'm afraid we can have 1,000 Muslim councillors and MPs, but if they're not the right caliber, Iqbal Bhai, then we're going to struggle. Give me 3 articulate MPs who can articulate the views and the heartbeat of the Muslim community in the United Kingdom, we will make progress. Give me 2,000 who can't hardly read and write, we're wasting our time.
Well, I mean, obviously, you mentioned how many Muslim people are involved in politics. And I said this on my program many, many months ago, even before I joined this TV organization. There are, by my reckoning, there are 100 parliamentary seats in this country which can be determined by the Muslim community and the Muslim vote. So the Muslims in this country can be extremely powerful in determining the future of this country. But unfortunately, because our own failings, and I think you alluded to that, partly because of the caliber of the people we've got, partly because they're more loyal to their political parties than they are to Islam and the Muslim community, so they have to follow the party line. We have not been able to make the progress that we could. But coming back, obviously, we've seen this dreadful, horrendous attack. I mean, I'll be talking a little later to Paul Gianassi, whom you know. Paul Gianassi is the government senior lead on tackling hate crime in this country. I was hoping he was going to be on my program today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but he is in Brussels, and I've done an interview with him, which I'll share with you in a little while. Obviously, the Muslim community is anxious at this moment in time. We have seen in the last week attacks taking place in this country as well. A couple of sort of people have been sort of arrested as well for their anti-Muslim hatred on our streets. Unless this is checked, are you fearful that we'll see more of those? Unless the police do something. I mean, they've done a wonderful job so far by finding them and stopping them.
Yeah.
But all we need is one lone wolf, like the New Zealand person, and we could have a massive tragedy on our hands.
Absolutely, because we've got organizations now who are actually established because the hatred of Muslims. In the 70s and the 80s, Iqbal Bhai, we didn't have that. We didn't have one single organization in the 1970s where actually they were established because of Islamophobia. We have now a number of organizations, not 2 or 3 or 5 or 6, and that's a worry in ourselves. And the membership of those organizations is not just white, it's people of other colors as well. So that in itself is a danger. As long as we've got organizations in existing which are right-wing organizations and purely established because of the hatred of Muslims, the Muslim community is going to have problems and they're going to have challenges. We cannot sleepwalk ourselves thinking that everything is fine, otherwise it's going to get too late.
What role should the Muslim community play in tackling this issue? Because you're right, quite right. I mean, there are, many people will not know this, but there are other faith communities who are actually taking the opportunity to have a go at the Muslim community at this moment in time. Yeah. And I refer to other sort of faiths from the South Asian community. And we've seen this in the last few years really increasing palpably. I mean, I must say the Sikh Council of UK very, very quickly condemned the attack in New Zealand and came out strongly in support of making sure that the Muslim community felt more safe, and they supported the Muslim community, and we're deeply grateful to the Sikh Council of UK for that, for their support. But the Muslim community itself, you use the word sleepwalking. Do you still feel that the penny has not really dropped, that they don't realize the implications of what is happening or the seriousness of what is happening, and that we sleepwalking away as if nothing's going to happen, everything's going to be all right, let others deal with it? So is this a wake-up call for the Muslim community as well?
I think it is, and I think the Muslim community needs to, and some of the good initiatives that's already taking place is about the positive integration. So for example, the mosques are opening doors to non-Muslims. Because one of the things that the organisation is saying to us is that you don't belong here. Your ideology is different, your religion is different. You cannot be British and you cannot be a Muslim. Obviously, that's a ridiculous statement to make from those right-wing organisations. I, as a Muslim, I have no problem being here, being British and being proud of being British, but also being proud of being Muslim. There is no issue with regards to that. But the message that gets across to the right-wing organisations, supported and encouraged and promoted by the media, the mainstream media, is that actually all the problems that we're having now, whether it's terrorism, whether it's grooming, whether it's sort of arranged marriages, these are Muslim issues. Female, genital, it's Muslim issues. So everything that's negative, and if you have a consistent media pressure like that on any particular group for 25 to 30 years, like the Muslim community has been having, Iqbal Bhai, there's going to be a socialization process taking place. So the white people actually are now being socialized into radicalization through the media and through some of our politicians who actually, sadly to say, make stupid comments like the burqa and the others, and you know who I'm referring to. So these may be subtle, very, very indirect comments, but they actually register to a non-Muslim. So over the 30 years, when you expose somebody to that type of a negativity, then things are going to get worse. So the Muslim community has a role to play, and they got a number of roles to play. The first role that we have to play is that we've got to show some strategic leadership. We have lots of leaders, but are they strategic? Are they the ones who are articulating the views of the Muslim community? Are they the ones that actually challenge the high unemployment, the health conditions that the Muslim community are facing? And then what we need is also, we need our own community.
I'm gonna have to stop you there, because I've just been given the signal to say we need to go to a break. Inshallah, we're just starting to have a real interesting debate. Don't go away. Stay where you are. Make yourself a tea, coffee, whatever you do. Pray your namaz. And inshallah, we'll be back with you soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.